my name's Tessa and I'm one of the listening and spoken language therapists at the Shepherd Centre. I've been working here for 4.5 years now. Listening and spoken language therapist is, we're usually either speech pathologists or teachers of the deaf, and we undertake further training in a type of therapy called auditory verbal therapy, which is specifically for children with hearing loss. So we are specialised in that field, and we work with that approach specifically. Auditory verbal therapy is an approach that is really focusing on developing a child's spoken language through their listening skills. So there's a really big emphasis on maximising their ability to hear the sounds in the language they speak. It's a parent coaching model, so it's really about working with parents and giving them strategies and skills in the way that they use language with their children. And it's really grounded in a child's everyday routines and everyday environments. So we don't necessarily have specific activities. It's not similar to traditional speech pathology where you're working on, say, a particular sound or a particular area of language. It's really holistic, and it's about coaching parents in the way they use language with their child. So a typical day for me as a listening and spoken language therapist really varies. I might have anywhere between 1 and 5 therapy sessions with a client. That might be just me, or I might have the child's audiologist or their child and family counsellor in the session with me. Some days I might have a visit to a child's daycare or preschool to upskill their educators on working with children with hearing loss. Other days I might have professional development activities or time that I meet with my clinical supervisor to talk about my caseload. Because when you're working as a listening and spoken language therapist, you're undergoing that further training. Some days I might have goal setting meetings with families, or I might have case consults with other professionals that work with the families. I've always known that I wanted to work with children, and I really enjoyed doing psychology and linguistics at university, so speech pathology seemed like a really natural fit as a career pathway for me. And I actually went to preschool at a bilingual preschool where we used Auslan and spoken English. So I was always aware of that side of speech pathology and the field of hearing loss. And as I got to know a little bit more about it, I really liked the idea of working with a family from really early on in their child's life. So we work with little ones as young as 3 months sometimes. And it's really just such a privilege to work with families along that journey, sometimes with the same family for 4 or 5 years until their child starts school. So we see children from a really wide range of cultural and linguistic backgrounds. And what's really great about auditory verbal therapy, because it's parent coaching and it's really about how the parent talks to their child, it can be done in any language. So we either use interpreters if the family requests, or sometimes we will coach the parents in English, but they will then switch to their heart language, which is what we really encourage them to use with their little ones. And in terms of different modes of communication, we do specialise in spoken language here, but for children that we see that might need an alternative mode of communication, we are able to work alongside other providers that can provide that support for that communication mode, and then we provide that specialist lens for hearing loss. We also have a lot of children and families that choose a bilingual approach with Auslan and spoken English. And again, we can work alongside Auslan tutors or other providers while we focus on spoken language for that little one. A really important part of the auditory verbal therapy approach is maximising a child's access to sound, which means their ability to hear the speech sounds in English or in whichever language they use. And that is quite a sort of complex and ongoing process. So I had a little client who had hearing aids, and on paper, on their hearing tests, it looked like that should be enough and that they should be able to hear sufficiently through those devices. But because we were seeing them weekly and every week, we were checking to see how well they were hearing through their devices. And we were also monitoring their speech sound development and how many words they were using. We could see that this little one just wasn't making the progress in their spoken language that we would anticipate, especially given that all their other skills were developing really beautifully. So their social skills, their cognitive skills. And auditory verbal therapy and our approach here is also really multidisciplinary. So we were able to work alongside that little one's audiologist here and their child and family counsellor, also working with the family and with the other professionals involved, so the ear, nose and throat surgeon and Hearing Australia. And we did an evaluation to see what hearing device would be best, and alongside the family, we thought maybe a cochlear implant or 2 cochlear implants would be better for this child. So the family chose to do that, and they kept attending their weekly ABT sessions as well. And this little one, within a matter of a couple of months, went from only really using an R sound, no other consonants, no other vowel sounds, which they should have been using a lot of at that age, to speaking in words and using almost all the consonant sounds that we'd expect for their age. And then they really developed their listening skills. We saw, from them being almost unaware of sound happening around them to being able to listen to short instructions and to be able to answer simple questions really, really quickly. And that was because of that specialist approach and the fact that we could really look functionally at what that child could do, not just what a piece of paper and a hearing test said that they should be able to do, but look at what was actually going on for this little one, and to then, maximise their ability to hear spoken language. For someone that's interested in specialising in listening and spoken language therapy, my advice would really be to see if you can find a listener to talk to. It's quite a niche field. There's not a lot of us. So getting the chance to talk to someone about why they're interested in that role, what they love about it, why they're passionate about it, I think would really help to give you an understanding of the area. And I think also volunteering is another great way. A lot of non-for-profits will welcome volunteers to things like play groups that they run. And it's a great way to get a sense of what is involved in this career, because it is quite different from traditional speech pathology. So that's, a really nice way to get a little bit more knowledge and develop your understanding and see if it would be a good fit for you.